Can someone to confirm that YouTube is working from your side? Yes, it's working from my side. So, hello everyone, my name is Andrei, and today I'm going to show you a presentation about how we deal with configs in Drupal 8 during development cycle. So the presentation named Drupal 8 config development workflow for profile and SQL flows. A few words about profile flows. So it's profile flow pretty standard, almost similar to Drupal 7. And the basic recipe is you are creating a site by running drush site install and name of profile. After that, you can extend default profile installation with manual config import from some particular folder or using hook install within your models for specific parts. Configs can be put in profile config install. It's a standard directory for using the configs by core, or by putting them into staging file system for importing by drush config import afterwards. Also, for CBOK users, we managed to extend our install script for making this automatically. How to export configs for future usage? So you need to run drush config export, and there is a tip that you need to skip models like devel config, devel stage file proxy, and do not put them into the storage, because they can break overall process and you won't be able to enable them afterwards. So next step is you need to copy those configs to profile name config install, and after that you can reinstall your site or git push all the configs to the repo for next usage. Also, we've created a script that can do this automatically. There is a list of blacklisted configs that you don't want to use in your flow, and they will be automatically excluded during copying to profile config install folder. And the main part is about SQL flow. Like there is a surprise from drush that drush config import wouldn't work, and the configuration management UI from Drupal core wouldn't work as well, and that's why. Let me show you the whole picture of how the configuration management works and how the config import works from in a core. Like when you need to import your config changes to actual active storage, and active storage is a storage of all configs inside Drupal database. And also there is a file storage. It's a representation of active storage at file system. Changes to file storage means nothing in terms of updating active storage. You need to change file storage and then run update process via drush config import or configuration management UI, and only then all the configs reread it from the disk. The core makes a diff between active storage and file storage, and if there are some configs in active storage that are not in file storage, core think about them like to be deleted. And if there are some configs in file storage that are not in active storage, core thinks about them like to be created. And if there are configs in active storage and file storage, but the actual content of the config is different, core thinks about them like to be updated. So from first point of view, it's like a simple picture and easy to use. But when your site is on production and you have content managers and they have access to create panels, contact forms, fields, and some other config entities, there is a state in a system when inside active storage can be configs that are not represented in file storage. And when you are going to deploy your changes to configs and use regular Drush config import, at this stage, your Drush will diff the active storage against file storage and think about config 5 from content management as to be deleted, and all the changes that made by content managers can be gone after your deploy. How to deal in this case? Drush team provided us with a partial config importer workaround. So how it works? It like you can't delete configs from database. You can only create or update. But using Drush config import partial, we face an issue that not all, even subscribers, that are fired up during config importing executed by Drush partial config import. So you can get a state of your database when your active storage has a lot of configs that are not that are not imported fully. Like you can see a field created via field UI, but when you try to enter something into that field, the Drupal throws you an exception with an error that database has no such table in. So it's a really unstable situation when you face this. It can be catched via administrative UI reports page and looks like mismatched entity or field definitions. So you can, if you see this mismatched entity, you can check your entities with adding or inserting something into these fields. And if it works, it's just a matter of badly created contrib model. But in almost 19%, it will throw you an error. So how to fix this situation? Here is an example of maybe 100 or 200 lines of code for cleaning up active storage, removing all partially created tables, etc., etc. So it's better do not let your project to go into these problems. And now I want to introduce you our created model that named as config importer. It's already pushed to Drupal.org. It's a really simple model that here is an example of using it in hook update. Like you can provide him a list of configs that you are going to update or create inside your database and active storage. For deleting configs, you can use just regular Drupal 8 API for remove config from active storage, and everything else will be executed by the core itself. And how it works under the hood, like there are 3 steps of updating config inside your Drupal 8. First step is to export all the active storage to some temporary directory. Next, the config that you are requested to update overrides the configs inside temporary directory. And next step is to import all the configs from temporary directory back to active storage. So actually, this is a pretty fast operation, atomic. So overall site downtime can be for a few seconds, but it's not actually a downtime. It's actually the impossibility to enter something into the configuration storage. So site is working during this process without any issues. And here is a big picture of how the working flow with content management works when you use the config importer model. So the pretty much the same process, like you update your config files within a file storage and create hook updates and run drush update db. Then active storage exported to temp directory, and inside active storage you can see the config file that was created by content manager. That config exported to temp directory, and during the import config 5 stays in database and nothing deleted. But config 3 deleted through your request via this example. I guess this is it. This is all I want to tell you. It's a short story, but you can think about the overall configuration system in Drupal 8 like the all configs are the one big feature in Drupal 7. And that is most similar for understanding how it works. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, please ask them in our chat.
Thank you, Andrei.
So I see no questions. Let me check a few. Wait, okay. Mind, brain, hearts.
So salty again.
Maybe one question. France. Okay. Where is the question? The main use case of this flow, it's a regular update for the site that is currently in production. Like when you're in SLA phase, or when you creating some feature requests to already installed site, you need to update some configs, like you've created web forms or added fields to some entity, and you can't do that by hands because well, it's a slow process. Actually, you can do that by hands, but it's a slow process. So, and from development point of view, you need to create the changes the changes at your local development environment, export the configs that represents your changes, and import them on the actual production site. And do not let you remove the configs from the other content managers. You need to use this flow for keeping them in database. Can you show a real example when this model will be used? Well, it's let me show you. Models, custom. Here is an example for this model inside hook update and process. For example, if you need to enable messages block, and this block lives in config. So you need to write hook update and to import this configuration into the site for ability to see the block actually on a system where you deploy in your code. So there are a lot of examples, like here is a big change for creating sitemap on a site and updating a lot of content types in one move. So, any questions? Okay, if there are no questions, let me thank you for listening. Let me to stop our live streaming.